Hey, tonight we are having cast iron made pork chops and vegetables. Stay tuned to see how we did it. Hi, welcome to my channel. I've lost 180 pounds with keto, carnivore, and counting calories. Don't forget to check the description to this video. I have links to some of my popular videos, a link to my Amazon account for a lot of things that you all ask about. Don't forget I have a bunch of playlists on the home page of this channel. Thank you. To get started, we are going to take, we've got our pork. These are thick cut pork chops, and we're going to go ahead and season them. Got some of my salt. You can use whatever salt you prefer. This one is the Redmond's Real Salt. And then I'm going to add some onion salt. Smear it around here. So some onion salt. We're going to add some garlic salt. Again, whatever brand you prefer. And even if you want other seasonings, feel free to use whatever seasonings you like. Just go with your favorite seasonings for pork. And this is some, what is this one called? Seasoned salt. These are really thick pork chops. And as we cook them later, before we cook them, I'll put in a thermometer. So that way I can kind of keep my eye on the internal temperature. And then we're going to also add some cherry smoked salt. I'm just kind of pushing it into the meat here. We're going to put the same seasonings on both sides. So when I'm done. And then my final thing is this new barbecue bear rub. You use whatever kind of favorite seasoning rubs you like. You don't have to use this one. This one came from Alaska. My mama got it for me. Okay, and I'm going to push it all in. Now I'm going to flip them over. And I'm going to season the other side exactly how I did this side. Now that I'm done seasoning both sides, I'm kind of dipping the edges down into the seasonings that fell onto the little paper here. Now I'm going to put this all onto a cookie sheet, and I'm going to let this sit in the refrigerator for a little over an hour. Let's see if it's, what is it now? Yeah, I'll let it go for about an hour, hour and a half, and I'll be back. I forgot. I'm supposed to cover it with a towel. I don't want the towel hanging over in case it gets drippy. So I'm just going to kind of lay it and curl the ends so that way they're not hanging off the edges. Now you put it back in the refrigerator for an hour. While that's going, I've also cut up some pineapple that we're going to use a little bit of. I've cut up some yellow squash. I've cut up some peppers, some zucchini squash, and some onions. So I've cut those up, and you can be doing those while that's in the refrigerator. Also, I cut up some rutabaga, and I'm doing some parboiling just to get it a little bit soft. I'm not trying to cook it, so I'll parboil it for maybe 15-20 minutes. Again, I just want to soften it because rutabaga is a very, very dense vegetable. Okay, so I stopped these. I can get a fork in them. It's a little difficult, but that's okay because I don't want them to be mush at the time that it cooks with the other vegetables. So just barely able to get your fork into them. Turn off the heat and then drain the water and put them with the other vegetables. When your meat has about 30 minutes left, I'm seasoning my vegetables. So I've got all the different vegetables in this container. This is just a nice little container to house everything in. That was salt. I'm mixing in some of the cherry smoked salt. I'm just going to put in bigger amounts. It's a lot easier. Then I'm going to put in some garlic salt. And we're going to use some of this Bear Rub. We're going to use some onion salt. Again, whatever seasonings you did with your pork, season your vegetables with. And I'm going to use some seasoning salt. The last item we're going to add is 1 apple. You can leave this out. You can leave the pineapple out. You can leave the apple out to make it a little more lower carb. You do whatever's going to work best for you and how you're eating. Cut that core out. And I'm going to do these in smaller bites so that way I make sure it gets into each of the servings. I know I make y'all nervous with my knife skills. Don't worry. Sometimes I'm editing and I make myself nervous. Okay. So now we're going to kind of just mix it all up in there. You'll have some runaway vegetables here and there. That's all right. Hold it over your counter so it doesn't land on the floor. Do it that way and then turn it the other way. This is your zucchini, your squash, your rutabaga, your onions, your peppers, your apple, and your pineapple. Just use whatever amount works for you, because whatever's left over, you can use for something else. So I feel like those are good and seasoned. I'm going to put this in the refrigerator, and it all has 30 more minutes for my refrigerator. So then I'll put this in there, and this will be in for 30 minutes, and the meat will have been in for 1 hour and 30 minutes. But it's only been in for 1 hour as of now for the meat. According to a few videos that I saw, they said that when you do pork chops, they're thick like this. You put them in the refrigerator to let them absorb the seasonings. And now I will leave them out on the counter to come up to room temperature for about 30 minutes. Next step, we are going to preheat the oven to 375. And we're going to heat up our cast iron skillet for the meat. And I'm heating up a wok for the vegetables. Right front. Like medium high, left front. So my medium is 5, so I'm going to put them both on 7. And when they heat up, I'll be right back. Because the pork chops are going to be too hot in a little while for me to put this in, I'm going to go ahead and I've got a meter thermometer. And I'm going to slide it into 2 different pork chops. And that'll just help me kind of keep an idea on how they're doing. Trying to do it in the thickest ones. Let me go this angle. Right down the center. All right. Now. We'll wait for the skillet to heat up. Okay, I'm going to add some tallow. This is some previous used tallow, so it's a little discolored, but that's all right. And now I just want to heat it up because we are going to, basically we're going to sear the vegetables and we are going to sear the meat. And we're going to do the veggies first. Hopefully I don't start a fire. We're not trying to cook the vegetables, but we are trying to sear them up. So I'm just going to try to sear them a little bit. I'm going to give these a little stir from time to time. This dish was inspired by a few different ideas that I saw on YouTube. One, his name is Jeffrey something. I have the link down in this description. He did this with chicken in a little bit different method. I'm doing it with pork. So I totally stole his idea and making it my own. I went ahead and moved these over to here because this is a larger burner. So I'm going to let these finish searing on this larger burner. We're going to move over to another spot, and that way I can let Bertha start warming back up, and I'll show you what we're going to do with all these vegetables that we just started heating up. So we have 5 cast iron skillets. The size of them is not listed, 8.5 inch. So these are all 8.5 inch skillets, and this is what we are going to do with them. We're going to put some vegetables in each of them. With the extra vegetables, you can roast them or do whatever else you might want to do with them. But we're going to go ahead and get enough vegetables to go into each. Sorry, all this food is making my puppy dog hungry. He's smelling it all. Okay, I think that's good. Make sure there's a pineapple in each one. Just make sure each one has a little bit of everything that you want them to have. Now what we're going to do is we're going to sear up each of our pork chops. We just want a good sear on them. We're going to let it sear about 3 minutes on each side. So the person who I saw doing all those cast iron skillets, I saw it several years ago whenever I first got into cast iron. And the Culinary Chef, I think is the name. I can't honestly, it's like I said, it's linked below. Please go watch his channel. He's really, really good with cast iron. But I learned a lot about my cast iron stuff by watching him. But anyway, whenever I saw his video, that's the day I decided I needed a whole bunch of cast iron in one specific size so I could recreate this meal that he did. And this is my moment. Only I don't want to do it with chicken. I'm doing it with pork. My thermometers, last I looked, said the internal temperature was 63. I'll get back to you in 3 minutes. Okay, it's been 3 minutes. Now we're going to move over to the table and put our pork chops onto the skillets, on the vegetables. Okay, I have put each pork chop in one cast iron skillet. I'm going to try to put the ones with the thermometer, one on the top shelf, one on the bottom shelf, so that way I can kind of keep them regulated. And the extra vegetables, I actually have in another skillet that I can let go in at the same time. It took several trips to get them all in there, but I got them in there. It looks good. So I will see how long this all takes. Again, I'm doing it till there's an internal temperature of 140. Culinary Fanatic, that's his name. Again, it's all down in the description below, but I just wanted to say his channel name to give him props. His channel is not active that I see. I don't think he's uploaded a video in a year or so, but regardless, he did a phenomenal job with what he made, and so it inspired me to try to attempt it and recreate it with my own twist. So the Culinary Fanatic. It's been 8 minutes. I rotated them from shelf to shelf, and it says that there's about 8 minutes left, so I reset another 8-minute timer. I have cleaned out Bertha, and she's now drying for 10 minutes, and then I'll let her cool down and hang her back up on the shelf where she belongs. Ignore the member of the I just ate an hour ago, but I'm starving to death party member. She is here to represent her team and to make sure that you all know that she is starved to death. In the meantime, while all that's going, we are going to make a butter to go with that on top of it. Again, this is what the Culinary Fanatic did. So I'm going to take a stick of butter. For those of you who know me, you know I don't ever buy butter, but I did for this recipe. So I'm going to melt this slowly. I don't want it to burn. So I'm going to set it like on 3 because we got all the time in the world. I'm going to put in 5 little cloves of garlic. And when that melts, I'll be adding some seasonings to it. But I'm going to let the butter finish melting first. The thermometer probes said to remove from heat, so I'm going to pull them out. And now they'll rest for 5 minutes is what it says to do. And now we're taking them over to the table. Going to make it look nice. While that's resting, we're going to continue with melting our butter. And I'm going to go ahead and add some seasonings to it. He added some fresh rosemary. So I've got crushed rosemary. So I'm going to sprinkle a little of that in there. I cannot believe it. I don't have time. I looked all over my thing and I don't have time. So I'm going to put some basil in there, just a little. And then a little bit of herb de Provence. And that is the seasonings I'm going to add to my butter. And now just going to let it for the next several minutes just kind of just melt and take in all those flavors. And then this we can drizzle it over when we serve it. I think it would be fun if you had like little wooden things to set these on. Hey, wait a minute. I think it would be fun instead of plates, being fancy, because you all know I ain't fancy. I think it would be fun if each person got their own hot plate, and then you were able to set the skillet right in front of them, just like at some of the restaurants. And then, as long as you turn the handle around, you could pour some of this seasoned butter, drizzle that over the pork steak, or pork chop, sorry. Here. Look at that. I'm going to put some on each of them. I made this fancy meal just for you all. Even though I'm not dressed fancy. Now, let's see how it tastes. Ooh, that is perfect. Look inside of that. It is just barely pink. Mmm. Yup. Try a roasted pepper. Yeah. Zucchini or squash, I mean. Vegetables could be a little more done if you don't like a little crunch to your vegetables. These have a little crunch. You know me, I like anything. But yeah, you could cook your vegetables a little bit longer than your pork if you wanted to. Yep. You don't have to be fancy and do all the different cast iron skillets. That was just something fun. But this really, really does taste delicious. So you could do it all in one cast iron skillet. You could do it all in one big pan, whatever you wanted to do. But this is really all the flavors and everything. It's really a good, really a good fun meal. So try it and see what you think.